Welcome to the Arts Education Exchange campaign. I'm Tina Vasquez.
And I'm Maya Berry, and we are the project coordinators.
This pilot project is a professional development exchange between artist educators from Cuba and the U.S., dedicated to engaging youth around social justice issues through the arts in the most marginalized neighborhoods in their cities.
This August, approximately 20 artist educators, half Cuban and half from the U.S., will engage in a 10-day series of collaborative workshops in Havana, Cuba. These workshops have been devised through a collective process over the course of 6 months, focusing in on each participant's interests, skills, and the needs of their respective community-based programs.
The idea for this project was born a year ago when I visited Maya in Cuba and worked with some of her Cuban colleagues.
I got to know these artists during my time living in Havana while conducting field work for my doctoral dissertation in anthropology. My work focuses on Afro-Cuban groups that are creating their own unique ways of responding to the needs of their communities at this critical moment of transformation in Cuba's history. These artists' talent and dedication, despite their scarce resources, was particularly inspiring.
The Cuban artist educators, Maya and myself, worked together to develop a workshop dealing with the topic of discrimination. The topic was chosen by the Cubans, and collectively we facilitated the workshop for a group of 9 students. After the workshop, I gave feedback to the artist educators on their facilitation skills. During the feedback session, we learned that this type of professional development was severely lacking in the Cuban context. And the few hours we spent together proved to be tremendously enlightening, not just for the Cubans, but for me and Maya as well, because we learned about the specific challenges they face in engaging youth around sensitive topics. We asked them if it would be helpful to bring other people to Cuba to further the learning process, and they met this idea with lots of enthusiasm, hence the birth of the Arts Education Exchange.
After Tina's trip, the Cuban artist educators kept emphasizing how important these types of exchanges are, especially as they witness a change in their society and how they feel uneasy about facing unknown territory. Over the past few years, there has been an expansion of the market economy and cuts on state subsidies. This has meant an opening of new opportunities, yes, but also presents new social and economic pressures. In this changing landscape, these artist educators are trying to address issues around racism, competition, classism, discrimination, sexism, homophobia, environmental justice, and really prepare the next generation to understand what is happening in their communities, in their society, and how it all connects to a larger picture. Because the educational system in Cuba lacks this kind of cross-cultural exchange, artist educators on the island are really out there on their own, working independently to provide an important social service from the ground up.
We believe that everyone should have the opportunity to grow professionally, and we know that professional growth does not happen in isolation. In the absence of mentorship and support, the U.S. artist educators can serve as fellow colleagues to the Cubans who can share a wealth of knowledge around our field. But because we also recognize that we have a lot to learn about Cuba, we all have agreed to trade knowledge for knowledge through hands-on, face-to-face collaboration.
With your help, we can greatly impact the 3,000 young people we collectively educate each year. You will help us all become better listeners, better innovators, and better educators. Your donation, your word of support, and your belief in us will contribute to the positive work of our collective members, helping their communities do for themselves. Whether it's learning alternative techniques to help a student through a tough situation, or devising better ways to self-manage and sustain a program over time, your donation will make a concrete impact, big and small.
Thank you for believing in us.
And thank you so much for donating today.